Are you distracted all the time? Have you ever wanted to have more focus? A bit more of that zoning in ability? Have you ever wanted that ability to not be distracted and you just wanted to focus and concentrate on the task at hand? Perhaps it's because you want to study more, or perhaps you want to just focus on your work and not just let your mind go all over the place. And if that is the case, then you are in the right place. In this video, I'm going to talk about what distraction is and what it is not. And I'm going to talk about some tips on if you want to focus more and if you want to concentrate more. This is one of the most common questions I get because I talk about meditation, and if you don't know, I've been meditating for about a decade now. So one of the most common questions I get is, how do I control this monkey mind of mine? It just goes all over the place and I'm not able to focus when I need to. And sometimes the situations is such that even when I'm with my boss, or even when I'm with my significant other, or when I want to spend time, this loving and intimate time with my friends, even then I'm not able to focus and my mind is just running and my mind is just panicking. So in this video, we'll talk about distraction, focus, and tips to overcome distraction and move more towards concentration and focus. If you like high quality psychology and mental health and productivity and just like well-being content, if you want to just feel awesome, sub to this channel would be appreciated. Okay, so my first tip in dealing with distraction is to accept that you are distracted. A lot of people skip this step and it's extremely important. Like if you don't know you're distracted, then there is no chance of you just like forcing yourself into focus. Like, the strategy of brute force, if you're just trying to, drag your focus from all over the place and you're just trying to just tense your muscles around it, it may work for a little bit, but dude, it's just gonna feel awful and you're gonna associate focus and concentration with just this terrible state of mind. So if you are feeling distracted, the first step is to acknowledge that you are feeling distracted and fully know that. Like if you don't know you're distracted, then you're also distracted about being distracted, or you're deluded at least about being distracted. So the first step is to accept the fact that you are distracted, and this is the condition of the mind right now. I have been meditating for a long time, like 10 years now, and I still get distracted, and that's very normal unless you are in like meditation retreats or something where you are training your focus 24 hours. Other than that, in any day-to-day situation, it's actually pretty normal to be distracted. So the first step is just to accept the fact that you are indeed distracted. So the next tip in reclaiming our focus is to reassert to ourselves or remind ourselves, what is my why? Like, why do I want to focus? Like, why did I select? Like, what's the need to focus? Why am I inspired to do this thing in the first place? So for example, if I'm getting distracted while doing my PhD work and I want to focus back into the PhD work, I might remind myself that the reason I want to do this DPhil is because I want to help people live a healthy and happier mental lives. I want to make this world happier. Like I want to add mental health to this world. That's my mission. That's my calling to the world. And reminding myself of that calling will remind myself that this is the means to that calling. Like I'm connecting myself with my purpose, with my higher mission. And as a result, that gives in me that energy to do the current task at hand, even if that task is a little boring or something that's administrative perhaps, which no PhD student enjoys. But just like connecting to my why will give me that energy and that focus necessary to do the task at hand and sort of take down that monkey mind a little. So that's my first step, just to understand your why and remind yourself what that why is. Now, some of you may be like, I don't have a why. This is only because my parents told me to do so. Like I'm just studying because I'm put in this system forcefully. Or you might be like, my boss told me to do so, and I particularly don't have a why, just like meh to me. And even then, you actually do have a why, which is why did you have the job in the first place? Maybe you want to feed your family or your parents or your child or yourself. Maybe there is something, it may not be the most highest level motivation ever, but it is still some motivation, and accessing that motivation will give you that signal, will give you that energy and that emotion to come back and do something about it, and give you that focus needed to quiet down your chatter mind and come back. Now, of course, you may discover that, you really want to change your jobs and this is not the life trajectory that you want to be in. And we're going to talk a bit about that at the end. But let me talk about my next. So you have accepted that you're distracted. You have reminded yourself of your why. And the next thing you might want to do, if you're still distracted, is use some meditation techniques to come back to your breath, let's say. You can actually choose any object of your liking, but the breath tends to be available with us all the time, which is why it's such a common meditation object. So all you have to do is, no matter where your mind is, you just accept you're distracted, step number 1, and then you just bring your attention to your breath. You just see your breath coming in and you notice your breath going out. And just do that for a minute, 2 minutes, and you will see that your mind sort of quiets down. You feel like your system sort of stabilizes. And you can close your eyes. Like, I often excuse myself to go to the bathroom every 1 hour or so. And then I actually just close my eyes and bring my attention to the breath. And that resets in me that chatter mind that I might have developed over the past hour or two. And if you keep doing that every hour or 2 hours or so, then you will find that every time your mind gets distracted, there's that momentum that builds, which you can unbuild when you focus on your breath. So that's my next step, which is to use some meditation techniques like focusing on your breath, bringing your attention back to your breath, and that will help your monkey mind quiet a little. And the final tip I'll conclude with is to investigate what's pulling you away. Now, even despite reaffirming yourself what your why is, accepting you're distracted, using techniques, even then if your mind just wants to go bananas, one reason could just be, you're feeling unwell, you have not eaten well enough or something like that. And if that's the case, you'll be fine the next day. But if that's not the case, and the distraction is in fact signal, not noise, you might want to investigate what that distraction is telling you. Like, I remember when I was studying very heavily into this science and mathematics in my high school, I was distracted quite often, mostly because I had a big part in me that wanted to study humanities, that wanted to study things like history and philosophy and psychology. I just didn't want to be like a chemistry guy all my life. I like science, I enjoy studying physics, but I didn't think that was me. And so at that stage of my life, the distractedness was in fact a signal that, this is not exactly aligned with my values. This is not exactly what my genius zone is. Like, I can do mathematics fine. I have an undergraduate degree in it, but I don't really think I'm put on this earth to do mathematics. I don't think my life experiences, my areas of expertise, my skills, all of that align to being a mathematician. I think it aligns much more to doing this sort of a work where I'm talking about psychology and my meditation experience comes into play and my social skills come into play, and there's this beautiful convergence, my neuroscience knowledge comes into play. And when that sort of a conversion happens, you just have that sort of an energy to focus and do this thing. And so I never have to ask myself to focus on the psychology bits because they always come naturally to me because that's aligned with my values. So if you're just chronically distracted, if you're chronically dejected, then you might want to investigate distraction not as noise to be eliminated, but as signal to be investigated. Maybe it is telling you something. Maybe it's parts of you that are alerting you of a change in trajectories, a change in path, a change in mood. Maybe it's alerting you for some rest. Like, in today's day and age, we don't get as much rest. Maybe it's alerting you that you need a bit of a change in scene, like you have been working for years and you've never had a goddamn single vacation. So my final tip would be to investigate the distraction as signal and not as noise, and figuring it out what that distraction is calling you towards. And maybe that is the case. Maybe it's not distraction after all, but it's a call for something. All right. So in this video, I talked about distraction, I talked about tips to overcome distraction, and I talked about what if distraction is signal, not noise. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, like the video or subscribe rather. This really tells me that I should be making content like this, and it tells me that it's helpful for me to show up for you and to do whatever I can, to do whatever I have in my own little capacity to make your life slightly better and slightly healthier. Alright, this is Sankab signing off.